My name is Caitlin Montgomery. Yeah, I think what's most interesting about my first experience is I actually thought it went pretty great, and I was really on board to just keep going to the hospital. For the most part, there are a few things that I kind of was like, I wasn't really sure about that, but I thought that might just be how it is. I can be kind of squeamish about medical stuff, so I was like, that's probably all it was. And I thought it had been like a wonderful birth. I was happy with it until this second time around. I got pregnant and was just trying to prepare a little bit more, and somehow stumbled upon just kind of more information about some of the practices that like the OBGYNs use in the hospitals. And then I felt like, I don't know, it felt like it all came crashing down, and I saw my first birth in a totally different light. And I kind of felt like I had been almost kind of tricked, and my ignorance had really been like I'd been played, you know? My ignorance had been bliss until I wasn't ignorant anymore, and then I was almost kind of, not horrified, but just like, wow, I probably was really lucky that things had gone pretty smoothly, that I wasn't one of those that ended up with like a C-section or other complications. But I didn't like that, knowing that I had probably just been lucky, and I actually hadn't gotten to be like an active player in making some of these decisions and ensuring that I was prepared and really like had an active role in my own birth and a say in how I wanted things to go. This is probably the most like, I'm not really a millennial or a Gen Zer, I'm in that in between. This is the most like, I don't know, Gen Zer thing ever, but I listened to a podcast about, it was a midwife. This guy has been delivering babies like 40 years. He even knows how to do twins and breech, like he can do it all, which is kind of actually now a lost art amongst most midwives. They're not really allowed to do that now. He was talking about how he decided to leave doing deliveries at the hospitals and became more of a midwife. And he actually advocates like everybody should do home births. And it just was really eye-opening. Some of the things he had mentioned, I was kind of like, wait a minute, I feel like now that I think about it, that might have kind of happened with me, or like that kind of makes sense. Like a lot of my friends are getting C-sections, like a lot of stuff is just kind of being normalized. And I think the biggest thing was stuff that he talked about. I just was like, I had no idea. Why was this not something that I was educated on? I had no idea how birth even worked. And I'm a woman, my body's built to do it. And nobody tells you that or helps you like work with your body, you know? And so that just really like kind of turned me off, like officially to the hospital. And then I just kind of Googled birth centers. I was like, birth centers are a thing? Like, are they here in Ogden? Usually that kind of stuff seems to be more down by like Salt Lake or Utah County. So it was a simple Google search. My first impression when I walked through the door was I liked that it wasn't like white and sterile. Yeah, because we came in and we did a tour, so it wasn't white and sterile. And what was cool was I actually was able to email Loretta before and let her know, like, I'm considering doing a birth here. I want to get some more information. I just want to see what it's like. And she offered us to come in and do a tour. She sat down and let us ask her a bunch of questions. And so I just like got just a really good feel for her and the birth center. It was quiet. It wasn't like packed and super busy like your doctor's offices. Nobody rushed us. And then my first appointment was similar. And then it was just nice that they were like, stay as long as you need to. Like, we really want to make sure we've got all your questions and concerns, anything you want to talk about, like this time is yours. It always felt like my doctor was just in and out. And I had questions, but it was so rushed and so fast that I just was kind of like, and then they'd be gone, you know, and you just didn't feel like they really cared or they even remembered you. But every time I'd come in here, they'd pick up from where we left off the last time. Be like, oh yeah, you said that your kid was doing this last time, you know, how'd this go? And so you could tell like they remembered you when they were your friends and they were excited to see you. And they were really like invested and involved in your birth. Like they were also preparing for it. You weren't just another person for them to see and it's all run of the mill. This is how it's gonna go. Like it was like really a partnership, I'd say. I'm so proud of him because I think when we first came to do the tour, he was kind of like, what are you wanting to do, you crazy lady? And our insurance wouldn't pay for it. So I told him we're going to be doing this just all from our own funds. And he was like, all right. And so he was a little trepidatious, but I think once he saw how great the care was here, he really came around. The hospital, I mean, you just kind of show up, and then I felt like he just kind of sat on the sidelines, not, any fault of his own. There just wasn't anything for him to do. I didn't know how I would want him to support me. I didn't know, what kind of measures and options were out there. You're hooked up, you're stuck in the bed, your contractions are happening, but you're not feeling them. You're on all your drugs and epidural, like you're just kind of there. So yeah, he just kind of sat there. My mom brought Chick-fil-A in, and he got to eat Chick-fil-A, and I sat in the hospital bed and glared at him, and he held my hand when he needed to, but he just kind of felt like at a loss, like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what you want me to do, and I didn't know either. And this one was so much better because I had actually been able to educate myself on birth and what it was going to feel like, what the different stages are like, what I was going to need. And then I was able to tell him based off of that where I would need him to be and what he would need to do. And so he felt like better prepared and more of a part of it. And it was just all around just so much better, I think no matter what you're going to pick for your birth, everybody should take some kind of a course, because the course prepares you for either option. It just explains, like, as a woman, like, here's like how your body's built to do birth, here's what's going to happen, the different like stages, what happens with your pelvis, what contractions are like. The course I took explained everything about like epidurals, the science behind it, pros and cons, and then different interventions the hospital might want to do, pros and cons. Like, it wasn't biased, but it was just so fascinating to just know these things and then be able to prepare my mind for it. And a lot of it, once you take the course, you just kind of feel like, wow, okay, this is something that people just make sound like it's really scary because they just don't know. I'd say ask questions. I don't know if it was white coat syndrome or I don't know, thought what the doctor told you is what it is, and I was really willing to trust that. But now I know that you can always ask questions. If a doctor comes in and says, this is what we're going to do, you're actually in charge, and you can ask, well, why are we doing that? Or tell me about that. Or I think I want to consider that. Like, there's other options. A lot of the times what they want to do is what is most convenient for them, and that might not work for you in your case, and it might, but I think it's always good to know that you are actually in charge and you can ask questions. They have some online courses they recommend you take on your own time, but then towards the end of your pregnancy, they do have like a free course you can take, a free class, and your spouse can come or your partner. They'll go over different like either birthing positions, counter pressure, like just ways to stay comfortable during birth, just all sorts of things. Supplements and diets, not diets, but better diet choices you can make to kind of help yourself during the last trimester. Like, it's truly fascinating.